Guys, what is up? It's your boy Beast here. Welcome back to some more Pokemon Black and White 2 Wi-Fi battle stuff. Now, this match right here is against a guy from Skype, actually, who challenged me. And he wanted to know you cheater battle. I believe his name is Stopeatingmypudding. And this match right here took place like 2 or 3 weeks ago before I took my break. And it was a pretty good match, actually, but I really didn't have any teams ready at the time he challenged, so I just grabbed a bunch of pokes from my box and used them. Now, these pokes probably don't have the best synergy together, but it was still a pretty good match, I have to say that. Now, I'm looking at this guy's team, and I see that he's got a rain-based team with Politoed and stuff, and I also noticed a Scrafty, which I do not have any solid counters against, but it's probably the biggest threat together with his Garchomp, because Garchomp can be a problem if it's Choice Scarf, which most Garchomps are nowadays, and a jolly Choice Scarf Garchomp can outspeed pretty much every single one of my pokes on my team, because my own Choice Scarf Pokemon, which is my Slacking, it's pretty fast, but it does not have as good of a base speed as what's it called, Garchomp does. I think it has like 105 base speed or something, Garchomp. I'm not quite sure, but or 110. I'm not quite sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. Around those numbers, and he's also got his Tornadus. I'm assuming that it's got like Hurricane and stuff, and it's more of an offensive one. Well, obviously, it's a regular form Tornadus, so I'm guessing it's one of those Hurricane offensive variants. And his Vaporeon, I'm not really too afraid of it because I got Electrods and stuff, and Tentacruel, which is actually an offensive Tentacruel with Giga Drain. Now, I gotta keep my Electrods and Tentacruel for this match because that's pretty much the only way to handle his water types and probably his flying types as well, because I really don't. Those are probably the only solid counters I've got on my team that can handle those pokes. Now, his Ludicolo could also be a problem, so that's why I gotta kind of keep my Electros at full health in order to handle it, because if it is one of those, it's probably one of those rain-dish what's it called, Ludicolos, because Swift Swim with the Drizzle is illegal, so it's definitely one of those rain-dish Ludicolos, and those things can be a pain, especially when you got perma weather going on. Now, my team, my Electros, I believe it's an all-out attacker or something with Life Orb or leftovers, I'm not quite sure, but my Bronzong is a specially defensive one. I think it's some sort of tank set that I made a while ago, actually. And my Slacking, like I mentioned before, it is a Choice Scarf one, and the Spiritomb is a locker, just to lock in Psychic types mainly, but this guy doesn't have any Psychic types, so it's not going to be too useful in this battle. And my Tentacruel, it is a special attacking one. It can also work as a lead attacker as well. And the Zoroark, I made a stupid thing with Zoroark in this match. I should not have put it at last, because Zoroark's ability, Illusion, does not work when it's at the last spot, so I made a really stupid move right there, even before the battle. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and start the battle, shall we? So I figured, since my team is not really weather-based at all, and since my opponent's team is pretty much rain-based, I figured he'd just gotta go and lead off with his Politoed, just to get that rain up, just so he doesn't have to, you know, worry about it later on. And that is exactly what he's gonna do, and that's why I lead off with my Electros, so I can get some type advantage going on here. And I knew he'd probably just go and switch out of the first turn, because it's probably not the smartest thing to stay in with the water type against a powerful electric type such as Electros. So I go for the U-turn the first turn and switch out of there into my Bronzong, because my Bronzong can take both of his stab moves. He does resist the Outrage and is also immune to the Earthquake, so I figured this was also a pretty good matchup for me. Now, what I did not know was that this guy did carry the Aqua Tail. It's a pretty uncommon move on Garchomp, but it can work from time to time, and it actually does quite a lot to me, because I do not have that much defense investment on this Bronzong. Plus, the rain is up, so that kind of gives it a boost. Now, I set up my rocks because he does not have any Wrap Spinners on his team, so I figured it would be a great idea to set up those rocks, because residual damage will be pretty useful in this battle, because there are a few pokes on his team that I do not have any solid counters against. For example, this Garchomp, because I do not have any Ice types or Dragon types on this team that can properly handle it, but I do have pokes on my team that does have moves like Hidden Power Ice or Ice Beam, but this thing actually does happen to carry the Hidden Power Ice. But I was a little bit scared to use it because he could have just had the Yache Bear, and that would have just caught me completely off guard. So I just go for the safe toxic anyways, just to get some residual damage going on here. Now he's gonna go ahead and set on this, what's it called, Scrafty, as I'm gonna switch out of there into my tentacle because I just wanted to, I did not want to sacrifice my bronze lung right away, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set on my tentacle just to take a Aqua Tail, but he's gonna switch out of there as well as I go for the acid spray. It's not gonna do too much at all, but I just wanted to lower his special defense in case he was some sort of bulk variant. But it turns out he's not, at least he doesn't show it, but he just goes for a crunch this turn, and I see the damage dropping, and I'm thinking this thing is choice banded to the max, but apparently he just gets a critical hit, and that kind of screwed me over because, I mean, critical hits can always ruin your strategy, and had he been like more of an offensive variant, because if he would have been like an adamant Scrafty, because I can tell from that damage that he's probably not an adamant one, but had he been an adamant one, he would have probably just taken me out of there with that crit. So fortunately I'm able to layer that crit, and I go for the Giga Drain. It does quite a lot to his Polytoad, telling me that he's most likely not specially defensive, and that kind of caught him off guard as well, because this Tentacle right here is actually a offensive variant, not one of those toxic spikes variants with rapid spin and stuff. And it can actually work out from time to time as well. So I go for the Giga Drain, take him out of there, and this does not really look too good at all for him. I mean, he does have his Garchomp, which is pretty much the only thing on his team that can properly handle this thing, but he also has his Tornadus, and since I do have pretty low HP, I figured I'm just gonna go and fodder out my Bronzong and just let it die. And he actually goes for the Hurricane the first turn and does not have any Stealth Rocks up, and since I'm specially defensive and since I die to this Hurricane right here, I was thinking at the back of my head he's probably choice specs, because had it been like Scarfed or Life Orb, he would have most likely not taken me out of there. Well, he could have possibly taken me out of there if he would have had the Life Orb, but I did not see any Life Orb damage, so, or Life Orb recoil, so I figured he's probably not Life Orb at all. Now I make a bad play right here, sending Electros. I should have set in my Slacking, which is Choice Scarfed, and I could have just retaliated anything on his team, because I don't think it has any Steel types on his team, so Retaliate would have done a lot to anything on his team. I should have just saved up this Electros instead, because he does have his Tornadus, and the only solid counter I have against this Tornadus is this Electros, and I go for the U-turn this turn, and he's going to go for the Dragon Claw. It's going to do quite a lot to me, because I'm not really invested. I'm sorry. I'm not really invested that much in defense. I do have a little bit of HP investment, but not that much in physical defense. So I'm going to send a Spirit Tomb this turn. I do have the Hidden Power Ice, but I figured it'd probably be pretty unnecessary because he's at pretty low HP. Plus the Toxic is in there doing its job, so I figured I'd just try to go for the Pursuit in case he wanted to switch out of there. And I know I can take any hit from him pretty much, so he goes for the Dragon Claw. It's going to do less than half of me. And I just go for the Pursuit, try to take him out of there, but after the poison damage, he will go down, so I managed to take care of his Garchomp. Garchomp was probably the biggest threat on his team, because Garchomp could have been Choice Scarf, and he could have outspent my Choice Scarf user, that being my, what's it called, Slacking. So he's going to go ahead and set on his Vaporeon this turn. I did not want to, set on my Tentacle right away and just take a Scald to the face, because I just wanted to save as much damage as save as much health as possible, because I really just want to save my Tentacle as well, because together with Electros, Tentacle is really the only thing that can properly handle this Vaporeon right here, and I really didn't want to use Electros against it, because Electros is going to be used against his Tornadus. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Giga Drain this turn on his Vaporeon. It's going to do quite a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it's not going to take it out of there, but, that's kind of expected, because Vaporeon does have pretty good special defense and HP, so he's going to try to go for the Skull this turn, indicating that he's trying to fodder out his Vaporeon and not try to stall me, so he goes for the Skull. It's not going to do much damage at all, even though the rain is up, but he does get the burn, though, which kind of sucks, but I'm going to try to go for a Giga Drain this turn as well, and I believe that will take him out of there. So yeah, his Vaporeon is gone, and I can finally stop worrying getting walled by this thing. Well, actually, Vaporeon wasn't that big of a threat either, so I do take it out of there, which is nice. And I believe what he's got to do is got to set on his Tornadus again, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I'm actually going to fodder this thing out of here, because it's pretty much done its job at this point. But I think he's just gonna, yeah, he's gonna send in his tornadoes this turn, and just go for the hurricane, take me out of there. I'm alright with that because this thing has done its job. It's a pretty low HP as well, and if that thing's choice specs, I cannot afford to lose anything else because he'd most likely just be able to 1 KO every single poke on my team with that choice specs hurricane right there. So gonna go instead of my slacking this turn, go for the retaliate, and since I'm choice scarred, I will easily be able to outspeed the thing, no problem. And I'm happy that this guy was not choice scarred and not bluffing anything, because that would have screwed me over right there, because hurricane would have done quite a lot of damage to my slacking right there. So it's gonna go and send us Ludicolo right here, and this is where the bad play I made with Electros comes in play, because had my Electros had full HP, I could have been able to handle his Ludicolo as well with this thing, because this thing does have the U-turn, and this thing could have easily broken that thing's sub, and I could have easily just then taken that thing out of there with what's it called, slacking. But unfortunately that's not the case. He's gonna be able to set up the sub and then take me out of there with the Scald. So he does have the ranges as well, so that kind of tells me that he's more of a defensive variant. I was really happy that it was not one of those Swift Swim variants, but again, Swift Swim with Drizzle is illegal in OU, so he could not use that at all. Now he takes me out of there with the Scald, and he's behind a sub, and this is really bad because I gotta use my Zoroark for this, and the dumbest thing I made in this battle was not to disguise Zoroark at all, because Zoroark is sitting here and he's not disguised at all, and I'm just gonna go ahead and break yourself with the Dark Pulse. And I was hoping that this next Dark Pulse would do a lot more to him, but unfortunately that's not the case, and he's just gonna be able to take me out of there with a couple of Scalds. I think he goes for the lead sheet first. I'm not quite sure why he does that, because I mean, it could have easily taken me out of there with 1 or 2 Scalds, I don't know, but I go for the Dark Pulse again. It's not going to do as much as I would have hoped for, because this thing is most likely special and offensive, so I believe what it's going to do is going to go for the Scald the second turn, or maybe the substitute, I'm not quite sure, but I go for the Dark Pulse, and it's going to do quite a lot of damage. Well, like I said, it's going to do like a little bit less than half. It's going to do like 30% to it, and he goes for another sub, which is really bad, because they can just heal up all that sub damage with the Rain Dish and with leftovers and with the Leech Seed damage. So I am not looking too good at all, and I'm gonna have to get rid of the sub in order to handle this Ludicolo. Otherwise, I'm pretty much fucked. So I believe what he's gonna do is gonna go for Skull this turn, because I mean, what else he's gotta do? The sub will easily break after this Dragon Pulse, but he's just gonna go for the Skull and take him out of there, and the only poke I have left is my slacking, so I'm just gonna have to fire off as many moves as I can before it dies, because this thing does have the Taunt ability, and that's gonna really suck, because I mean, that's gonna that's gonna prevent me from attacking 1 turn, and he does have the substitute, so can easily just set up during one of those turns, and that's really gonna suck, because I mean, Protect is probably one of the main weaknesses that my slacking has. I'm gonna have to find a way around that, but Protect and Substitute, that's the main weakness that this guy has. So he's gonna go and switch out of there into his Scrafty as I go for the Hammer. I'm predicting that, and I'm not quite sure what actually happened here. I think he got cut out or something, I don't know. There's something wrong with the recording, but what happened was that I went for the Hammer Arm, and he actually ends up leech shading me with his Ludicolo, and the Taunt ability comes to play, and he's just gonna go and go for the sub as that ability applies. Now, I think he's just gonna try to go for Giga Drain or Scald or something, I'm not quite sure. I think he actually goes for the Giga Drain. I'm not quite sure why he does not go for the Scald, because the rain is up and it could have potentially burned me. And, I mean, the rain is up, that would have also boosted his, it would have also done a lot more than his Giga Drain because of the rain boost, obviously, so. Go over the Hammer Arm, and it's gonna break the sub, but still, I do have that ability, which kind of holds me back. And I think he's gonna go for the Scald next, and then the Leech Seed damage will take me out of there from there. So, yeah, that was pretty much the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this battle. Good game. Stop eating my pudding. Leave a like rating if you did enjoy this game. If you did not, then leave a dislike. I'm okay with that. And, you know, you can explain in the comments why you give a dislike, and, you know, tell me ways to improve, because I always want to find ways to improve my content. So, yeah, and leave a comment if you so wish to, and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. See ya, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.